Niner in here yet? Because he accuses me of going back and doing old material. So I decided to do something. By the way, somebody made some remarks about the Eagles. I'm going to get to that here in a second as well. So Niner, one of our very loyal viewers, made a comment. Oh, we're going over the schedule again. Okay. Well, 3 questions the 49ers have to answer, in my opinion, if they are going to dethrone the Eagles as NFC champions. I think they're going to be a formidable group. I do. But again, on June 22nd, they still don't have their quarterback thing figured out. Niner, hey, Sue, don't worry about Niner. Because Niner right now is having his, because 49er fans, what they do, they sit out right now probably, because it's like noontime in California. Got to remember what they do. Kind of like the English when they have tea. Right now in California, it's white wine spritzer time and cheese. So they have their white wine spritzer and cheese now. They're kind of like the English. People who live in California are kind of like the English. Okay, it's white wine spritzer time or Chardonnay time. Then it's cheese time. Okay, so you got to remember that, okay? See, when you're back east, like where I'm from, hey, man, it's hot dog and hamburgers and beer time, baby. We don't sit around drinking white wine spritzers or a lemon seltzer. I'm not going to drive up to Marin County and go on the patio. Okay? So here are my 3 questions for the 49ers. If they're going to dethrone the Eagles as NFC champions, can the coach protect the quarterback? Can they protect the quarterback? Every single quarterback that Kyle Shanahan has had has been injured. Okay? Can the 49ers protect their quarterback this year? When's the last time the Niners had a quarterback start from week 1 until the final game of the season? When's the last time they've had that happen? Can a quarterback in San Francisco ever play 17 games? Can you get through a full season? Hey, Quan, Jimmy G, I guess the Super Bowl year, right? The Super Bowl year? Okay. Guys are saying Kaepernick. Well, that was Jim McMahon. Okay? That was Jim McMahon. So the first question I would ask, can the head coach Kyle Shanahan protect the quarterback this year? Will he? Here's the second one. This, again, 3 questions the Niners have to answer if they're going to dethrone the Eagles as NFC champions. Here's another one. When does Kyle Shanahan win a big game? When will he win a big game? When will that guy win a big game? Dude, Nick Sirianni's already won a big game before him. Now, look, as much shit as I give Nick, has Kyle Shanahan won more big games than Nick Sirianni? Nick Sirianni's got an NFC title to his name. So does Kyle. But Kyle gets so much more love because his last name is Shanahan, not because he's a good coach. People look at Shanahan. Dude, if his name was Mike Sherman, would he be thought of in the same light if his last name wasn't Shanahan? I don't think so. When does that coach in San Francisco win a big game? So here's two things out of the gate here already when you're talking about the 49ers. And if you really think the 49ers are going to dethrone, if you think they're going to dethrone the Eagles, here, watch this. Can the Eagles protect the quarterback? They do. Can the Eagles win big games? They do. The Niners haven't answered any of those questions yet. Or as much. Dude, Kyle Shanahan is not, he is not more accomplished, in my opinion, than Sirianni is. He's not as a head coach. He's had more time and more control. He's the play caller. You know, Nick was a play caller too in Indianapolis. Maybe it's time for Shanahan to give the play calling up and hand it over to someone else and be more of a coach like Nick. You might go further. I don't know. And then having your dad and you be more of kind of like observers like Sirianni is. Just saying, man. Here's another question for the coach in San Francisco. When is he going to call consistent games? Can he call big games? Can he put a great game plan together for big games? These game plans, not winning big games, not protecting the quarterback. Am I off base when I say this to Kyle Shanahan? Am I making this up when I'm talking about the head coach of the 49ers? He can't protect his quarterback. He doesn't win big games. And his play calling at times is not consistent. Am I wrong here? And look, again, I know we kid that fan base a lot, but am I off base here with this? Because all I hear is how great a coach he is. Shit, man, I've heard people rank him one of the top 5 coaches in the NFL. Why? The guy in Cincinnati's better. The guy in Cincinnati is a better coach, in my opinion. Well, he's got Joe Burrow. Okay, so you still got to win with those guys. Minnesota wins a lot of games too, but they don't win any significant games. The guy, and they got Cousins in a shitty NFC. Okay? I mean, every single one of these things I just said about Kyle Shanahan, I think applies. Is Nick Sirianni a better coach than Kyle Shanahan? Is he a better coach? And listening to Jason Kelce today, that team loves him. I'm not saying the Niner guys don't like Kyle Shanahan. I'm not saying that. But is Nick a better coach? Why? He's just as accomplished. He's been to a Super Bowl too. What has Kyle Shanahan done? NFC West, pretty good division. I'd say it's compatible and comparable to the NFC East. I think the Giants are overrated, and I think the Dallas Cowboys are they underachieve. The Cowboys underachieve every year, and they have for 25 years. Okay? Yeah, you know what his record is, Steve, without having Garoppolo in the building? Last year was the best year he had without having Jimmy G there the majority of the time. And Jimmy G was still there last year a lot of time. Jimmy G had a great record as a starter in San Francisco. And for San Francisco just to let that guy walk out the building, not knowing, hey, get this. So you let go of your most experienced pilot and Jimmy Garoppolo for guys that are inexperienced pilots to fly your plane this year in the 2023 NFL season. I don't know about you, but I don't feel confident in that. It just doesn't seem, again, that the 49ers are prepared at the most important position again. I don't know. I mean, you can say whatever you want, but have they been? And get this. Yale, everyone. Do you know what the greatest thing that happened to the 49ers last year? They got lucky with the last pick in the draft. That's not skill. They got lucky. Because if they thought the guy was great, they'd have drafted him in the second round. To say that, hey, we drafted this guy and he was the last pick in the draft, that was a plan, is stupid. It's like telling me that the Patriots planned on drafting Brady in the 6th round. The Purdy draft pick salvaged last season for him. That wasn't strategically done. So he had an element of luck last year. There was an element of luck that saved the season after Garoppolo hurt his foot. Okay? Remember when Shanahan was with Denver and on a Monday night made Greasy shoot up the shoulders to beat the Raiders, then cut him in training camp? I don't really think much of the Shanahan name. The guy ended up running Dan Reeves out of town, probably rightfully so because Elway wanted him. Okay? Elway wanted him out of town. They ended up winning Super Bowls, no question about it. But Shanahan backstabbed everybody he could to get that job. I guess that's the business, so all right. And he was a colossal failure with the Raiders. And let's be candid here. John Elway and Terrell Davis saved the legacy of what Mike Shanahan ended up building. Is Mike Shanahan a Hall of Fame coach? I don't think so. How's Mike Shanahan a Hall of Fame coach? He won 2 Super Bowls. Okay, I guess he'll get in. Or he may be already in. I don't know. I don't look at him as, like, if I had to have a coach win me a game, he ain't it. Is Mike Shanahan in the Pro Football Hall of Fame? I surely do not believe he's a Hall of Fame coach. I think Mike Holmgren's more of a Hall of Fame coach. Holmgren's a Hall of Fame coach. Mike Shanahan is not, but he'll get in because whatever. 2 Super Bowls. Okay. You'd be hard-pressed to tell me that you think Mike Shanahan's a better coach than some of the guys that have come like Brian Billick's a better coach than him. Okay? Tom Coughlin's a better coach. Tom Coughlin's a better coach than Mike. Okay, so anyway, they part of the Bill Walsh tree, right? Correct. That's absolutely correct. Plus, the greatness of the offensive coordinator's job that he did against Brady in that Atlanta Super Bowl will always go down as one of the colossal F-ups. All right, so hey, the 3 burning questions that I think going into training camp: protecting your quarterback, win a big game this year, and have a good and consistent game plan. Put a game plan together for big games, dude. Just answer me those questions and we'll see what the Niners do this year. Look, you can't answer those questions and you don't have a quarterback. Man, and the NFC is there for the taking. Those are the 3 questions why the Eagles reign supreme in the NFC. Right there. They can answer all those. They protect the quarterback. They win big games. And the play caller is the quarterback because he's the decision maker on the field. Jalen Hurts is the linchpin of that whole thing in Philadelphia. He totally is. There's no getting around it. Do not be surprised if Seattle jumps up on San Francisco this year and makes that a little bit more interesting, the NFC West. They've tooled up pretty well. I think they got a better roster this year than they did last year, which was a playoff roster. I think Seattle's done a lot. this offseason. And hey, you put DeAndre Hopkins on that team too. He lands up there. Look, I know everyone's saying that D-Hop's probably going to go to New England or probably go to the Bills or the Chiefs. Those are the three teams. One of those, Titans, probably in that conversation as well. You put D-Hop on that Seattle team, they could beat San Francisco. Their problem a year ago was they weren't very good on defense. And they kind of came in the offseason and fixed a lot of that. So, my opinion, Seattle's going to give them a run for their money for the NFC West title. That's going to be interesting to watch there next year. Or, excuse me, this coming season. Is to see how they can handle the Seahawks twice. You watch. All right. So, on Dallas radio, I was notified of this. Demarcus Lawrence, their defensive end, has come out and said this about the Philadelphia Eagles. It's not a big gap between the Cowboys and the Eagles. Okay. So this is what I did. This is what I did. I put a checklist together on the two teams, Cowboys and Eagles. Okay? I put a checklist together. And I think some of you may disagree with me. But remember something here. This is head-to-head. This is head-to-head. Let's start it out. Oh, by the way, let me put this. Okay, I'll put that down there. Demarcus Lawrence once again said today that the gap between the Eagles and the Cowboys is not a big gap. Do you buy that first before we go into this? Do you buy that? Do you buy that the Cowboys are close to the Eagles? They have special teams, linebacker, safeties. Over us, that's it, says Twiz. He's right, absolutely. It's his relative. No, I don't think we're way better. No. Quan, wow. Who kind of like is all Eagles. Wow. Okay, I'm pretty shocked with that one. Haven't paid close attention to their offs. Yeah, I think they've done a nice job, the Cowboys, this offseason. Huge no, but big enough. Okay, that's fair enough. Let's look at that now. Here, I put a checklist together. Yeah, Tone, I'm interested in what you think. They aren't far behind. Fans better keep their eye on them. I'm going to make a comment before I go deep. I love this. Okay, I love this topic. Because head-to-head versus the totality of the season, I think are two different things. Are the Cowboys built to beat the Eagles? Yes. Are the Cowboys built to win the war? I don't know that. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? The Cowboys, it seems, are built to beat you. But are they built for the big picture? Does that make sense to some of you? Because I've said this in the past to you guys before. Okay? The Cowboys will beat you guys 37-14. And then turn around and lose to the Saints 14-7. And you're like, what is that? Whereas the Eagles may lose to the Cowboys, but go on a 6-game run. And you know what the most important thing that the Philadelphia Eagles do? They beat the shit teams they're supposed to. Dude, I think the last couple of years, the difference between the Cowboys and the Eagles, this is my observation now, is that you guys beat all the shitty teams that you're supposed to. and you win the majority of the big games, Cowboys, they kind of go up and down against the shit teams. And that's why they're kind of always wobbling. Now, I'll say this to you. They've put pretty good seasons back to back here, and they survived last year, and I think they're going to take a lot out of surviving last year. Philosophically, we can't get past them. Steve-O, that's kind of where I'm at here. Where I'm at. So Demarcus Lawrence, if he's just looking at the Eagles, I don't think he's wrong. But the Eagles have a different perspective on it. Look, the Cowboys are their big rivalry. But they're beyond that. They're looking at the big picture. They look at the NFC East. And that's why the Cowboys fold against the Washington Commanders at the end of the year at the last game that they needed to win. If they had any hope. Remember, if the Cowboys won the final game of the year and the Eagles tripped up because Hurts was still hurt, there was still something in question that they could have had an opportunity to win the East. Right? There was still they lost to the Redskins. Okay, well, shit, man. You can't lose that game at the final game of the year. You call yourself a true contender when that game could have, and I think they were the earlier game. So I think I think they're just a different way of looking at this. And I'll explain to you where I'm going here with this. Cowboys versus the Eagles. And that was a must-win for Dallas. And they laid an egg against Sam Howell. Sam Howell. Dude, shit. Even if the game at the end of the day didn't matter for the East, you should still want to win that game going into the postseason because guess why? You got to turn around and you got to play in a wild card game the following week. I don't know, man. I see them play Philly. And so I'm going to go with what Demarcus Lawrence said here, that he thinks the gap is not that wide. Okay. Quarterback. It favors the Cowboys. It favors the Cowboys. You don't have a quarterback that beats Dak Prescott yet. You think you do. You don't. And you know this. Now, watch this. This is going to sound like such a waffle. But Yale, tell me if I'm wrong here with this. Would you take Jalen Hurts for the totality of the season over Dak Prescott? Yes. Would you take Dak Prescott against the Eagles in both games? Yes, I would. He's 8-3. He wins both these games this year. He's 10-3 versus the Eagles. I don't know about you. Even if they split, he's 9-4. Okay? So at the end of the day, head-to-head on what Demarcus Lawrence is saying, Dak Prescott's a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts because his record speaks to it. Don't go by wishful thinking. Go by what they've done. Stanley, you have nothing to stand on when it comes to the Eagles playing against Dak. Nothing. Nothing. Everything that you'll say is absolutely not true. Jalen's a better quarterback. That's not what we're saying here. Head-to-head. This is head-to-head. Not the totality of the season. This is something you don't want to face. Dak Prescott does a better job against the Eagles so far. And I will say this. He's had more games, and there's more of a sample size. But Dak has succeeded with that sample size. The Eagles would have to sweep the Cowboys 3 seasons in a row to make Dak a 500 quarterback versus Philly. That's the truth. Again, the one thing that you guys don't like to hear is the truth. Mike McCarthy, Dallas teams look like those Green Bay teams. McCarthy's teams always look good during the regular season, but never good. This is not about that, Weapon. This is head-to-head. This is head-to-head. Dak owns our backup, Sills. No, that's not true. owns your backup, so does Jalen then. Dude, he hasn't lost a game to the Eagles since 17. Okay? Dak owns the East. That's a correct statement. Is this going to be another year Jalen Hurts will break all kind of records again? What records did he break? I must have missed that one. What records did he break? What records did he break? I must have missed it. This is an interesting topic because you really notice how emotional impact folks on the topic at hand. Yeah, because you know why? They're not wrong. There's actually two answers to it. There's two answers to it, Tone. Okay? I believe there's two answers. Because for the totality of the season, there is no question. You take Jalen Hurts. Okay? You take Jalen. But head to head, like Demarcus Lawrence said, the gap's not wide. The gap is not wide. So, again, I'd rather have Hurts in the Cowboy game. That's not true. In the Cowboy game? That's not true, Yale. I'd rather have Jalen. Okay. Well, don't let the Cowboys get into the NFC title game because they'll beat you, no matter if it's at your place or their place, because he does beat you. I think that's where Demarcus Lawrence is going. Overall, yes. And I made that very clear. That's what my premise was here. You see, Lawrence came up with, hey, by the way, do I think Jalen Hurts is an overall better quarterback than Dak Prescott? Slightly, yes. That's not bad. He just needs to do something in the postseason here. Sills, why do you think the Cowboys always fall in the playoffs? Because, quite frankly, I think the Cowboys are a regular season wonder. They get into the postseason, and they just get in their own way. I think too many mouths are in the locker room, and too many mouths are in the game plan instead of having conviction by one guy. And I think you have too many voices. Okay? He's younger and has a higher ceiling. Again, I don't know what that higher ceiling is. I just think he has to get better at what he's consistently doing now. I don't believe he's going to be a guy, if you're thinking he's throwing for 4,500 yards, that's not going to be who he is. He's going to get better at doing what he does best. The same way that Mahomes is going to get better at doing what he does best. Okay? Jalen doesn't know. That guy said backup quarterbacks. If that's the case, it's not Dak's fault the other team's playing with backups. Not sure what the hell you're talking about, Texas guy. Okay? This new defense will beat him. Absolutely no way. If you think your linebackers and your safeties are going to beat Dak Prescott, he's going to rip your ass a new one. Jalen's going to have to go on 14-play drives again to keep that offense off the field. That's going to be the mantra early, especially in the season this year. Until that defense comes around, I think Tone said it, around potentially week 8, something like that, you're going to have to give that defense a chance to mature. You got too many new faces in that thing. The entire heart of your defense is brand new. I promise if we would had to play Dallas in the NFC Championship game, we lose, Sebo says. Dallas is in our heads until we beat that demon. It'll be the same scenario. Dak Prescott last year destroyed the number 2 defense in the entire National Football League. You don't have the same talent on the team this year. Or here, I'll take that back. You don't have the same experience that you have on that team a year ago. Okay? Hey, would we not agree and maybe, Tone, you agree as well, that there's still one more hurdle for Jalen Hurts to overcome. You know what that is? He's got to get the upper hand on Dak. The Eagles have to get the upper hand on Dak Prescott. The Eagles offense will have to carry the team at least until week 7 or 8 for sure. They will make mistakes, and we just have to be patient. Absolutely. That's why you may get a shitty loss somewhere in there where they don't get the ball back. Like watch this. They do such a great job, 3 or 4 14-play drives, and then in the last quarter, they have a 3 and out. The other team gets it, kicks a field goal, and beats you, and you lose to a shitty team. That could happen because of your defense. Until that defense comes around. And the difference between this year and last year is completely experience. I think you actually have a chance to be more talented with this group of guys. I think you have a chance to be more athletic with this group of guys. But you're far less experienced. I heard somebody say something too. I actually heard people giving that kid Morrow some kudos and saying that guy is going to replace Kaiser White. Kaiser White had 106 tackles last year on the number 2 ranked defense in the National Football League. That guy Morrow had 100 tackles on the 32nd worst defense in the NFL. There's no comparison. There is zero comparison. You know why? He was on the field probably 68% of the time, chasing down guys running downfield. That's not impact tackles. And that's why the Eagles didn't give him 1 cent in a signing bonus. Don't be stupid. Morrow's not an upgrade to Kaiser White. That's completely made up. Completely made up. Okay? That got us. You're the one. What making what compare? No. I'm not made up, Quan. Fake news. San Francisco shut Dak down last year. Yeah. Again, I'll go back to what my statement was. I'm not saying that Dak is the better quarterback for the full season. I'm saying Dak's the quarterback to beat the Philadelphia Eagles because he does. Okay? You're right. You're going to go further with Jalen. Tone, it's an interesting conversation here on who has the upper hand in this and what Demarcus Lawrence said today, that the gap's not that far. He's right. Now, if you're talking about winning the entire season, Jalen's your guy. He's going to be more consistent than Dak because why? He don't turn the ball over, and he doesn't have high turnover percentage type throws or plays that he has in his arsenal. But at the end of the day, Prescott beats you. Head-to-head matchups, dude, last year he was 78% in that game, and he made the Philadelphia Eagles secondary look like a joke. And there were far better and more experienced guys in that secondary and in your linebacking core and in your front 7 that had 70 sacks. He ate you up. He ate you up. He crushed you. It wasn't close, really. It was kind of, once again, Dak being Dak against the Eagles. So in a head-to-head competition, Dak Prescott has the advantage over Jalen Hurts until Jalen shows us he can have the upper hand against him. He's never had the upper hand. Now, it's a smaller sample size. That's to be fair to this. Okay? That, again, that's the conversation that Demarcus Lawrence had today. That he thought the gap was not as big. We got something for Dak. What's that? What have you done to beat him this offseason? What is that? What exactly was that you have that last year you couldn't do it, that you have this year? What is that? What exactly? Okay? What exactly is that? What exactly is that? Yeah, okay, Jam, whatever, dog. 8-3 in his career versus the Philadelphia Eagles. No matter what guy you have throwing the ball or whomever Hall of Fame type coach and Doug Peters. So against your boy Sirianni and Doug Peterson, he's 8-3. Great. Remember something. That quarterback doesn't play against Jalen Hurts. That quarterback plays against your defense, and he owns you. Jalen ain't playing corner. Slay, Bradbury, all them dudes. So the advantage in head-to-head matchup for quarterback goes to the Cowboys. Why? Because it's fact. It's not an opinion. You can't come off of 1 year where the Cowboys and Eagles still split. Both quarterbacks took on backup guys, okay? So where did you get the advantage then? And by the way, that game against Cooper Rush brought that game into the fourth quarter at least. That game that the Cowboys had with that quarterback and against your backup, it was never close. It was never close. He was 78% completion. That guy was throwing passes against that so-called all-pro secondary like they weren't even there. We have nothing for Dak until we beat Dak convincingly. Yeah, again, though, Dak Prescott, once again, is not on Jalen Hurts' level. That is such a fallacy. That is such a fallacy. Complete fallacy. That's a passion that you're talking about, Anthony. So what? Tyler Heineke's beaten him. And so has Tyler Heineke's beaten him. And so is Dimes Jones beating him. What are you talking about? Okay, anyway. Let's go to running back. Again, this is taken from the comments that Demarcus Lawrence made today. Running back. Who has the advantage here? Tony Pollard is better than anything Dallas has in their backfield. Currently, you have spare parts. However, I will say, I think it's deeper and watch this, has more potential. But you don't have anybody that could catch. How many catches last year? Hey, Tone, do me a favor, can you? How many catches did Tony Pollard have last year? Okay. I'd like to know that because I know he had 1,000 yards rushing. He had 1,000 yards rushing. He's a better player than anything you have in the backfield. He's not coming off a knee injury. He's coming off of an ankle injury. Pollard ain't a third down back. He had 40 catches, 39 catches, missed some games. 39 catches for 371 yards. That's it. Played 16 regular season games. Okay. And did he had like 1,100 yards, or did he just get a tick over 1,000 yards rushing? So he attributed for basically 1,300 yards, something like that, in total 1,007. So he was probably around almost 1,400 yards in total offense last year. 193 attempts. It's pretty good. It's not a lot. Then again, he missed a game. It would have been around 208, something like that probably, right? And carries if he had played the last game. 1,000-yard rusher. Hey, Tone, what was his yards per carry, if you don't mind me asking what his yards per carry were? Because 371 is a lot when it comes 5.2. Okay, so he was 5 yards a carry. You have nothing in your backfield remotely close to that. Nothing. Got to say, last year's Eagles' defensive stats were very misleading. Rarely did they leave me confident that they could close out a game despite stats. It's because a little bit that the big-time quarterbacks, you're always worried about them. So let me get this right. Tony Pollard averaged in the 5.2 yards per carry and 9.5 yards per reception. You have nothing in your backfield remotely close to that. That's exceptional. 9 rushing TDs, 3 receiving, 12 for the year. You have nothing remotely. That's almost Brian Westbrook stuff. Almost 10 yards per pass reception and 5 yards a carry. Where do you really think the rushing and the running back, what is that side on? You want me to give you the kudos because you have a Rashad Penny and a DeAndre Swift guy who can't play regular seasons healthy, and you want me to give you a Kenneth Gainwell because you have guys who can't play and you're not sure what the other guy's going to do. Are you crazy? Tony Pollard gets the advantage, and the Cowboys have the advantage. So far, the Cowboys have the advantage in head-to-head matchup versus the Eagles at quarterback and running back. You're going to give me wishful thinking on Rashad Penny and Swift, and I like Swift. Past 2 seasons, Pollard has gone over 1,000 yards from scrimmage. You have nothing in the conversation with that. Nothing. Running back goes to the Cowboys. To be determined? No. We're going by who you are and what you are. Yale's giving the benefit of the doubt. Why would you give somebody the benefit of the doubt when they haven't showed you that they could come through? They've never come through. You're going to give people who've been in the NFL 5 years the benefit of the doubt where you have a guy who's been over 1,000 yards rushing the last 2 years? Give me a break. What are you, crazy? I'm not giving you the benefit of the doubt. Swift has shown that he can play. Yeah, but not better than Pollard. But not better than Pollard's not an unknown. Pollard is not an unknown. Okay? Seals, who would you rather have as a quarterback, Dak or Jalen? I told you, it's a different conversation, Speed. For the totality of the season, Jalen. Head-to-head matchup, Dak. Because Dak has done it. That's what Demarcus Lawrence was. I mean, why am I repeating this to you guys? Are you not hearing it? Here's Tone. 2022 season for Swift. 542 yards rushing, 5 TDs, 389 receiving. 931 total yards, 3 touchdowns. Those are not bad, but those aren't Tony Pollard numbers. Okay. Hey, Tone. He's on the Eagles because he's good, but he's not Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard's a better player than anything you have in Philadelphia. And you want me to give you the advantage because why? Potential, which means you haven't done it. Okay? Dude, you can't give people advantages when you have documented proof that a guy and who he is and what he does. And just sit there and not give that guy his kudos. No, I get it. Swift's a good player. He's not Tony Pollard. Pollard's a better player. Again, head-to-head. Head-to-head. Okay? So quarterback, wide receiver go to the Cowboys. Wide receiver. I don't really think this is close. The Cowboys would have you believe it's close. I don't believe it is. Look, I think Brandon Cooks and Galladay are decent guys. I think they're good. And CD, I think, look, he had 1,300 yards a year ago. I think he's good. But you give me A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith any day. And by the way, I think the gap there is exceptionally wide. I think the Philadelphia Eagles have that advantage big time. Okay? As much as the Cowboys in the media likes to tell you that CeeDee Lamb's a better wideout than A.J. Brown, that's not true. And dude, Devontae Smith is banging on the top 10 door too. He has another year like he did the last year, and he goes over 100 catches. He's going to be a top 10 guy this year, and he's trending that way. The Eagles completely dominate the Dallas Cowboys. Okay? He's coming off an ankle injury. Your two guys are coming off of what? And he did play 16 games. More games than any of those guys you have in the backfield ever played in one season. Dude, don't make shit up. Wide receiving completely goes to the Eagles. Look, I think the Cowboys' O-line is good. Martin's great. He is. The left tackle, Smith. The other guy on the other side can be good, but to try to sit here and try to tell me the Dallas Cowboys have a better line than the Eagles. Okay? Hey, Tone, do you want me to finish this? Do you want me to finish this list here, or do you want me to continue this? Yeah, let's finish this, okay? The Eagles have the better O-line. Okay? Tight end, not close. Okay? The Eagles own the tight end. Dallas Goedert, spectacular. OC. So you think Brian Johnson's a better OC than Mike McCarthy, who has a Super Bowl ring? I don't. Brian Johnson's never called a game in his life. Why would you give him the advantage? Why would you give Brian Johnson the advantage at OC? You can't give him the advantage over a Super Bowl coach who was the play caller when they won the Super Bowl. So the Cowboys have the advantage on offensive coordinator. No matter what you think of Mike McCarthy, he's got the same playoff record that Sean Payton does. Okay? Defense. D-line. I think the Cowboys have a better D-line because I think the heart of your defense in the middle is questionable. I think the Cowboys have an overall better D-line with Lawrence and with Micah Parsons as their two ends. And now with this Mozzie Smith, who I'm not saying he's going to be something special. People think this guy's great. I think they're a little better in the front four than what Dallas is. I think Dallas has a little better front four than you because you got players that, once again, have to be proven here. You like Philly's line? How can you? You got two guys on it that have the biggest question marks. Jordan Davis and the other guy, Jalen Carter, hasn't played yet. Again, to be determined. Then that goes on the side of the Cowboys. Linebackers. Cowboys have better linebackers. You don't have any linebackers. No. To be determined, Cowboys. Corners. I think the Eagles have better corners. I do. I think the Eagles have better corners. And they upgraded. Safety position. I actually think this is a push. Okay? Defensive coordinator, not close. Dan Quinn favors the Cowboys. Head coach, McCarthy or Sirianni? I'm going to recap, and I'm going to finish it up with that. Mike McCarthy or Sirianni. Let's see what that would do. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll recap all of this. And was Demarcus Lawrence right? The gap is not as wide. Okay? Hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football.